there's so much focus now. It seems like things seem to fall very singular before they, I guess, branch out and get more complex. But there's a big focus on a lot of raw speed stuff and linear speed and track speed. And so I know you've had some posts on this type of thing. But basically, I'd like to ask you, how far can something more simple and linear like a tracks I'd like to say even speed, but I know I'd like to get your take on like track speed and track mechanics in there. But how far can linear speed go before it really has to branch out and flourish to move the needle in the game? And I
Yeah.
suppose it probably differs by the game a little bit, but general thoughts on that one.
Uh, I think there's huge um, gaps that can be closed. I think about coordination, and I do come from ecological thinking. So if we think about Newell's approach to coordination, that in the physical sense, at least, it has expanded a bit now. Keith Davids and people like that have expanded the ideas of that, but that coordination is the first kind of stage of our movement. Then we find some stability, and then there's a kind of a skilled expression or action after that. All right. And it's non-linear, and with different movements, we're in and out, and we're going up and down the scale. And as we move through levels or challenges in the sport, or move from sport to sport, or even from ages, that those things are going to vary, right? So I was lucky enough years and years ago to get a bit of a jump in my area and in S&C with teams in Cork years ago because I worked with a track coach. Okay. And he helped me with acceleration. And that had a massive effect on us. And I picked up stuff around Charlie Francis, tempo running, this kind of stuff as well. And I just got the jump on other teams and coaches because of that. But that was very, and of course, that's quite common now. And even 16-year-olds are coming through now with those as kind of staples of, or they've met someone along the way. I will do a lot of work in acceleration with these kids I'm working with. Okay. We're indoors at the moment. We'll start adding bits and pieces. So if there's a poor coordination level, if they can't apply force to the ground, absolutely go to the track stuff. Like, those guys are doing it all the time. And while we may not need to get into the biomechanics, the small technicalities of what a 100-meter sprinter might need to worry about, 100%, I love that stuff, and it has an immediate effect. Like, and then I agree with the ideas of sprinting and just going for it. And most people would go from short to long with a team, maybe early season, and go to 20, 30 meters accelerations up to 60, 80-meter all outs and curve running and all that kind of stuff. So from that point of view, it's very useful. Okay. But there is a tipping point where, not that we abandon it, but that the game movements and the speeds and the decisions I make are all much more intertwined, right? So, I mean, the difference, it's again going back to Gaelic games, right? There is a bit of an anomaly in Gaelic games where the elite players actually, and it's very linear now in the sense that the first 6 months of the year, the elite players play with the elite teams. And then for the rest of the season, maybe 3 to 5 months, they play with their local clubs. Okay. Which is a great part of the culture, to be honest. It's what makes it pretty unique. So the best guys who play in the All Ireland final in front of 82,000 people, literally sometimes within 7 days, are back in front of 150 people in rural West Kerry, right? So, and that is real, right? So, but when you watch them these days, right, particularly teams are much more conditioned. Their acceleration is the game changer. So when you see them back with their friends and their peers, back at the next level down, even though it's still a decent level, acceleration is absolute. I was fascinated even again recently to watch some of the best players play with their clubs, and you know, guys who couldn't do stuff at the highest level just steaming past players, and it's just that first couple of meters. So it is absolutely worth training. But then the constraints of the game mean that that's only going to bring you so far. In Gaelic football, again, training acceleration and trying to create games, even playing handball in an alley, right? Olympic handball in an alley will have an awful lot of changes of direction, planting, small accelerations. I see great use in that because Gaelic football, I think somewhere between 160 and 200 accelerations a game, right? So that's quite a lot of accelerations, quite a lot of opportunities to get injured, maybe if you want to look at it like that. So absolutely that linear training I think is valuable. The less coordinated you are, the more valuable it is. And one actual addition to this, Joel, maybe it's just a reminder, but really recently, some of the kids I'm working with are really skilled. Okay. Like there's a couple of kids in particular, I've seen them play hurling, and hurling's a very technical and skillful sport. And they are exceptional, right? And they're hauling at accelerating, right? They are terrible in the gym, trying to get them to hinges. And it's a nice reminder to me that like you learn what you practice. They have developed motor skills, possibly without doing any external training, let's say. And these are young kids now enough, 10, 11, 12, 13 maybe. And they've learned to move in that environment of the game of hurling or Gaelic football. So I think we need to bring it on another level. Okay. And I would have for quite a while, would have done Charlie Francis type tempos, accelerated short to long, sprinting, done some mass running and maybe VO2 kind of stuff for years and years and years. And I created condition games and I let the game do the rest of it. Right. That was the large approach. I think I've heard Stuart McMillan say something along those lines but I've kind of moved away from that a little bit in the sense that I think I can be more deliberate about the type of speed and the type of specific conditioning, the game conditioning, that I do with a football team in particular. It's largely Gaelic football I coach, and now I'm a hybrid coach. So I started designing with that in mind. That if we're going to repeat something, we'll repeat it in a chaotic environment, right? But then I can start constraining. Does this look like the game? Are these the distances we're going to transition? How do I motivate players and incentivize players to actually go all out? How do I incentivize the defenders to be aggressive and try to stop their teammates at training? So that's where I've gone the last number of years, and I believe also and it's hard to prove, but I believe there is injury reduction elements to that as well. And it brings that robustness on another level.